Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of Middle Class Rockstar. I'm your host, Andy Sito. I'm a musician, songwriter, living in Nashville, Tennessee. My guest this week is Travis McNamara, who is a singer-songwriter and artist and also front person for Trout Streak Revival and the founder of Arthouse Consulting. Welcome back to another episode. It's been a lot of travel for me this summer. Haven't really been home much. I'm home for 2 days right now before I'm back out again. I had the pleasure of playing at the Acorn Theater this past weekend in Three Oaks, Michigan, supporting Anders Osborne. It was great to see him and catch up with him again. He's one of my favorite artists and also produced my most recent record, Night Skin. Tomorrow I head back up to Michigan. Poor planning on my part. But I'm going back up for a couple concert series, one in Hudson, one in Harrisville, and then I'll be in Geneva, I think that's how you say it. Sorry if that's not how you say it. Ohio, on August 2nd. So anyway, fun stuff coming up. This episode with Travis I have in two parts. It's going to be two episodes because Travis is an artist who's a singer-songwriter, put out a record, and was the front person for Trout Streak Revival for a lot of years. So he's got a lot of experience and stories to tell in that world, but he also has a Kickstarter company, Arthouse Consulting, and he's helped artists raise a whole lot of money, I think over $1.1 million now. And he has a lot of really insightful things to say about crowdfunding. I heard him speak on a panel a few weeks ago in Colorado, and I was taken aback because I'm not a panel person. I usually sleep in rather than go to morning panels at music conferences. But everything he had to say was so right on, and I really learned a lot from it and things I can do differently next time I do crowdfunding. So I decided to make that its own episode. So this episode that you're about to listen to, I'm talking to Travis McNamara, the artist, the musician, and in the next episode, he's still an artist musician, but we're talking about Kickstarter crowdfunding, and that I think is very good listening for the fellow musicians, artists, creators that listen to this podcast. So make sure you check out next week's episode. We'll also be with Travis, but we'll be talking about Kickstarter. All right. I think that's about it. If you like this podcast, rate it and review it, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you want to help out in a monetary way, I'm on Patreon at patreon.com/Andy Sito, SYDOW. And let's jump right into the conversation. Here's my chat with Travis McNamara. All right, here we are with Travis McNamara. Thanks for joining me today.
It's great to be here, Andy. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So we've chatted about doing this since 2023. We met in person at, I'm forgetting the name of it, even though the 2025 one was last weekend. Do you remember the name of it?
Was it the Colorado Roots Summit?
Yes,
for
that
Swerfa?
was it. Yeah. Swerfa is a regional segment of Folk Alliance, which we're both a part of, and then the Colorado Roots Summit is a segment of Swerfa, the Southwest region of Folk Alliance. So it's like a region of, it's a chapter of a chapter.
Yeah.
It's a paragraph. This is, I think, their third year doing it. We met at the first one in 2023 and started chatting, and I was like, we should do a podcast episode. And now 2 years later, after seeing each other again at the 2025 event, we said, man, we still haven't done that yet.
Yeah. Yep. This is a long gestation process for this one, but yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, Andy Andy was one of the panelists up at Folk Alliance and gave a really great panel on podcasting. So it's cool to see it in action right now.
See it in action. It's so you've got a few things going on, right? You toured for years with Trout Streak Revival. You've put out a solo record where you played all the instruments, I think like 16 instruments or something.
Yeah.
And you also have Arthouse Consulting, which helps mid-level bands trying to raise over $25,000 do their Kickstarter campaign. And I notoriously do not go to panels, the 9 a.m. panels at music conferences. That's when I sleep or hang out with friends or whatever. I'm not a panel guy. Right. Even though I was on 2 of them, and the third one was yours. And your panel on Kickstarter was incredible. You gave so much great information. And I remember even going into it, I was like, okay, what does somebody know about Kickstarter that I don't already know about it? And the answer at the end of the hour was a whole lot of things.
Cool.
So
glad to hear that.
yeah, big time props on your panel, and I'm hoping that I can get you to share some of that information on the podcast. So I was thinking we talk music, and then we can talk Kickstarter a little bit.
100%, man. Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to share as much value as I can, and I'm stoked to be here. Thanks for asking me to come.
Of course. So let's start off with you in music. Where did you grow up, first off?
I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan, originally, and lived out there for like all my youth and young adulthood. And then I went to college out in Tacoma, Washington, and then settled out here in Colorado. And I've been here for 15 years or so. And like a lot of my musical life happened out here in Colorado.
And what got you into music? Did that start early off?
Yeah. My mom was a music teacher. I was actually born in upstate New York in Rochester. And she was a music teacher in the public schools out there. And she's just like a great piano player, saxophone player, singer in the choir, and and so music was always around me a bunch when I was a kid. And then my dad, he doesn't play anything, but he's like a music lover, and he had the big CD collection of like Grateful Dead and Led Zeppelin and Frank Zappa, and let me like steal a bunch of that stuff in my middle school years. But yeah, I did like piano was my first love, just because it was kind of in the house and in the air a lot. And but then started playing acoustic instruments in like middle school, guitar, when I was going to summer camp and all that stuff. And then I was in drumline in high school, which was like I always loved the drumline. Like I didn't watch many of the football games, but I would stay around for the drum show at the end,
Yeah.
And then like choirs and stuff, I was always trying to sing as much as I could. But yeah, so it kind of came from a lot of different zones, I feel like.
And did you, you sort of have developed a love for, a lot of things, but it's bluegrass based, wouldn't you say? Roots music and bluegrass based?
Yeah, totally. It kind of came from, I was a camp counselor in college, and it was the same summer camp that I went to when I was growing up. And like all of the counselors, it was, it's just like, it's a lot of campfire time, and like all the kids go to bed, and, people are playing covers of like the band or Bob Dylan covers or Neil Young or whatever. And it was kind of like this acoustic music. And then coming out to Colorado, we were attending all these bluegrass festivals because it's like there's so many of them out here, and it's almost like the common tongue between people is bluegrass music. Like if you want to play acoustic music in a group, there's just like this. It's what everybody else is playing, and once you learn some of those songs, then you get to like join the picks. Have you ever done a pick before?
Casually around the campfire, sure.
Yeah, cool. It's like the Colorado bluegrass pick scene is it's like that, but I guess it's like a bluegrass pick is where people get together in a circle and somebody chooses a song, and they'll like sing the first verse and the chorus, and then when it gets to the second verse, it's instrumental breaks and it goes left of the dealer. And so the whole group plays through the verse, and then somebody takes a break and it's like an improvisational, solo incorporating the melody, but you could take liberties or whatever. And then that just repeats and it goes around the circle. And so it's like challenging and scary, but really fun. And it just kind of moves around the circle. And so when we were like young musicians and really wanted to like play acoustic and we wanted to play with people, you just like hover around the outside of the circle and like learn the chords and everything. And then when you would get enough gumption, like after weeks and weeks of going to these things, you would step in and like try to take a solo. So yeah, it was that was like the little primordial soup that we were born in, was all of this bluegrass music. And Trout Steak was, we were all kind of like acoustic musicians that like were trying to wade our way in there, and so a lot of times it felt like we had these waves of the band of like trying to go deep into bluegrass music and then like surfacing back to like what we actually love, which is like kind of songwriting and like folk music and like kind of more emotional, like connected stuff, like stuff that's from our own lives.
Right.
And sort of this like indie acoustic stuff. And we would just go in these waves of like being pulled in these two directions, I guess.
So when you talk about these picks, I remember last year, Martin Gilmore, who actually runs the Colorado Roots Summit, we were both Telluride Troubadour finalists.
Oh, right on.
And I don't come really from the bluegrass world at all, and he is a big-time bluegrass guy.
Yeah.
And when we were sitting around at night, he knew every song that anybody played. Yeah. He knew it. He knew 6 different verses of it, and he could solo over it all day long. And I was kind of blown away, not just by his chops, but his repertoire.
Yeah.
So as you go to these things, are you expected to know a certain number of songs? Is there a group of X amount of songs that everybody is supposed to be familiar with?
I mean, first of all, Martin is like a encyclopedia. He's awesome. I've watched his YouTube videos for like jazz chord. He's a great teacher and good dude. But yeah, like, I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to be an emissary into bluegrass picks for other people, because like they can be super intimidating. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like, I don't, you don't need to know like you don't have to have a quiver of bluegrass songs to go in there. It's like you can just go, and this is okay. I was just talking at a house concert with somebody about this, that like I did this for years when I was just beginning going to bluegrass picks, where you can sit in the circle and you can not know anything. And like maybe something that'll help is, do you know the Nashville number system? Like,
sure, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, in case somebody doesn't, it's a lot of bluegrass songs are really simple songs. And instead of saying the key and the chords that are incorporated in it, they use the numbers based on like if it's the tonic chord or if it's the subdominant chord or the dominant chord. And so it's like, if I were to say Wild Thing, which isn't a bluegrass song, but Wild Thing is a 1-4-5 song, right? Wild Thing, 4-4-5-5-5, 4-4-1.
Right.
And so a bunch of the songs are explained in that way, like right at the beginning of the pick, where they're like, this is a 1-6-2-5 song, or this is a 1-4-5, and then the B part goes like 4-5-1 or whatever.
Okay.
And so you can get the chords and you can sit in the circle, and then when it goes to the breaks, and when the breaks are coming to you, it's like you're surfing, and when you like duck a wave, you know what I mean? You just go like, no, like I don't want it. And it just like jumps over you. And I did that for years, where I would just like, chicken out constantly, and nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's like, it's fine. But then, yeah, eventually it's like you challenge yourself and you like want to get in there, you know.
Yeah,
But yeah, so
sure.
you don't need to know a bunch of stuff.
It's fascinating to me that the chord structures of a lot of the songs, not all, but a lot of the songs are fairly simple, yet the great players play that stuff extremely well. They embellish it, and then when it comes to the solo, I mean, they're ripping, and the pick speed is incredible, and you know, there's all the stock licks and patterns, but then the great players go beyond that, and it's been really exciting to see, you know, not just the bluegrass community grow, but see it even branch into mainstream some. I mean, I just, you know, Billy Strings just did, I think, like 3 nights at Bridgestone Arena here in Nashville.
Yeah.
And I got to go to one of those, and people were singing along, thousands of people singing along to every word. And he's not the only one, right? There's you know, Molly Tuttle. There's a bunch of names that are starting to push their way into mainstream music, and I think that's when virtuosity succeeds on that level, it's pretty cool.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, just like seeing Billy, he's a generational talent. You know what I mean? It's like he deserves everything that's coming his way. And Molly too. Like
Yep.
she rips, you know.
Yep.
And and like something that you're hitting on, I think, or that I guess that I've like seen and felt in some of these picks is like respect for melody. You know,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
especially the heavy bluegrass folks is they're always pointing back, they're always referencing the melody, and it's like if you get lost, play the melody, or even if you're not lost, play the melody, and that's like the ladder, you know, that you can make little vines off of.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like both Molly and Billy are so rooted in tradition that and taking it into, you know, it's like they're in their own little waves. It's like you can hear I can hear in Billy's playing like his heavy metal background.
Yeah.
know?
Right. Absolutely. So when you started playing with Trout Steak Revival, and that, I mean, I think what you guys put out your self-titled album in 2010.
Yeah.
And there's been a bunch of albums since then. Flight in 2012, Brighter Every Day 2015, Spirit to the Sea 2017, and finally The Light We Bring in 2020. So that was a 10-year, 11-year period where you guys were putting out albums and still kind of in the album cycle thing. I mean, we certainly were in 2010, I think, and touring heavily. So when did you guys start playing together, and how did you know you wanted to travel the country over and over again and smell each other's armpits in the van?
Yeah, we didn't see that part coming. That was revealed to us over time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it happened really organically. It was like way back in 2010, or like 2009. I was coming across the country from Michigan out to the West Coast to go work out there. And I would always stay with my buddy Will, who's one of the guys in Trout Steak. We were camp counselors together. And he lived in Denver, Conifer at the time. But it's like 17 hours both ways. And so it was right in the middle. And so I'd always call him and be like, hey, can I come crash on the couch? And we would always have such a great time, and we get to like play music and go hiking, and it was like, you know, all the Colorado stuff.
Yeah.
And one of these years in 2009, I called up Will and I was like, hey, I'm coming through town. Can I crash? And he was like, yes. And in 2 days, me and Casey, another Trout Staker, are playing a show up at the Bucks North Saloon in Sphinx Park, Colorado, which is this like tiny, it's in a cabin basically. And it's like way out in the middle of nowhere in the mountains. And they were like, if you make it out here in time, you can come sit in. And I was like, this sounds awesome. So I packed everything into my car, just like hightailed it out here. And we played together. And two of the guys that attended the show kept coming up and like sitting in on songs. And that ended up being Trout Steak, our original lineup. And it was, I mean, we played Old Crow Medicine Show, Tell It to Me 5 times in that set because we did not have any other material.
Wow.
But yeah, then like, you know, I went out to California, they stayed together and like kept playing shows. And then they gave me the call and they were like, dude, you should move back here. This is fun. And I moved out to Colorado. And yeah, we were the house band at Pasquini's Pizzeria in Denver for a while. And we were just like a crappy bar band for
house band, meaning you would host like a jam and people would come pick with you.
They would just kind of have us like once a month, every month for, I don't know, 8 months. And we would get like free pizza and beer and bring all of our friends to come hang out. And
yeah,
it was just like so fun and so worth it. Because we just wanted to play and we just wanted like an excuse to get our friends together and, yeah, and just like do it, you know? And yeah, so and then it was kind of just that classic, like trying to get our show tighter, trying to get our gear a little bit better, trying to like climb up in rooms. And it was like, you know, the Walnut Room, and then it was the Lost Lake, and just all these little clubs, and just kind of growing and like making bigger shows, partnering with friend bands to like make big cool nights and like access venues that neither of us could get into, and that like bring all of our crowds together and try to sell places out. And yeah, it just kind of grew and grew until started challenging ourselves to try to tour and get out of the state. And then we ended up touring for 6 years before the pandemic, like full time.
Were you able to make that work financially? You know, and maybe you had different needs then than you have now, or whatever, right? As we get older, our needs change. But how were you able to sustain being on the road as much as you all were for those 6 years?
Yeah, so like before that, it was still day job time. And like right around 2015, we competed in the Telluride band competition and won. And it was like we had this big possible influx of work. And that was like kind of our time to quit the day jobs and like try to go out on the road. So previously it was like day jobs, weekend warrior, you know, I took all of my sick leave on like Fridays to try to get out to play shows in Montana and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, then when we went full time, from like 2015, at the beginning we were able to make it work. It was tight, but we did it. And it, you know, at the beginning it was like you had to really cut back, and I got really good at cooking. Because I love it, but we also needed to do it. And we played like 120 shows a year, 44 states toured in. So yeah, it was like 2 weeks out, 2 weeks back, pretty much all the time. And
wow.
Yeah, so it was like a lot of road time, and kind of in order to, you know, make a pretty modest living,
right.
But still enough to like pay for all of our needs. It required that much work, and that was like kind of festival gigs and like big anchor dates and some privates, but then, you know, a lot of gotta play on a Tuesday out in Evansville, Indiana, to like 4 people. We've
Right.
played many of those.
Now, did the grassroots method work for you guys? Did you have the thing going on where you'd go play a club and then go play it again a few months later, go play it again a few months later, or did it really kind of take the festival circuit to help build up the fan base?
More of the former, I think. Like, we definitely learned probably the hard way that it's, for us, it wasn't really worth going to a market unless we could go back in 6 months,
Right. Sure.
Because we did stuff out in New York, we did stuff in Baltimore, and stuff down in LA, and like, it's just really hard to get back there. But like, the places that we went a lot were the Midwest, because we're from, like, I'm from Michigan. We had 2 from Wisconsin, and Will's also from Michigan. So, the first tours were like going and sleeping in your freaking high school bed and eating crock pot meals from your parents. But so it was like upper Midwest, kind of like Wisconsin, Minnesota, like that zone, and then lower Midwest, like Michigan, Chicago, like some Ohio never really treated us that well, but like, and then we would get down into Nashville, kind of like Eastern Seaboard, that zone a lot, like a little South Atlanta. We did those a lot, and then the other ones that we did early on were the Pacific Northwest loop for us, which was like Portland, Seattle, Idaho, like all that. It's just there's some bluegrass friendly zones in the country.
Oh, absolutely.
And like Tahoe, kind of getting in with Winter Wondergrass and some of that stuff. So it was like those were 2 zones that we went to a lot because you could loop them, and
sure,
like a little bit down in New Mexico and stuff, but like.
And there were places, it sounds like, where you could be championed in the scene, such as, the Wondergrass stuff. If you can get in with them, you're going to get some fans, right? Because you're going to be playing in front of people that really have a chance to like your music.
Yeah, totally. And like, I feel like that was another thing that we learned over time was like families of venues, like I point people that direction when they're coming to Denver and they're asking like where to play, that like in Denver, the family is AEG, because it's like, if you're going to play a little show, it's probably good to play it at like Lost Lake or Globe Hall, because they're owned by AEG. And then like, if you do well there, then it's like the Bluebird at 500, and then it's the Ogden at 1200, and then it's the Fillmore at 3600, and then they own Red Rocks, and then you'd be first of 3 at Red Rocks, and it's like you get more bang for, and those exist in like Seattle and in Portland, not through AEG, but just like finding out what the family is like. We've wasted a lot of time not doing that.
Yeah, right. Well, because you're balancing making money tonight versus making money down the road, and that's a really tricky balance, and it's different for everybody. But yeah, I know in Denver, like you said, AEG is the main promoter. In a lot of places, it's Live Nation, or I forget what the name of the one is in Montana. I don't even know if they're still around. But
is it Log Jam?
Log Jam, yeah. Yeah, but it definitely helps to get in with them, and or whatever you're trying to do in the town, getting in with somewhere where you can grow and make connections. Now, if you were starting Trout Streak Revival in 2025, what would you do differently?
Man, that is a crazy question. I remember there was one show that we played in Denver. This was it was like 10, 15 years ago or something. And we played in our hometown in Denver at this place called Owsley's, which is now closed. 4 people came, and we were like, what happened? And then we thought about it, and we're like, oh, this is our 5th show that we've played in Denver this month.
Yep. Can't do that.
You can't do that. And that was the first time we were like, oh, quality over quantity. Like, don't saturate the market. We should be playing Denver like 2 times a year, and they should be big, awesome shows.
Yep.
And yeah, we didn't get that early on enough. I'd probably do more like digital marketing stuff now. It's like that. This feels like a totally new landscape as compared to where we were back then. And like I see younger bands and kind of like younger in their life cycle bands that are making great strides in just like putting some good ads together and like learning that. And maybe that's just where my brain is these days, but it's like, I don't know. Being a musician is fun because it always asks you to like keep learning. And,
yeah, right.
And it seems like that is the thing that I am at least being asked to learn right now about this business. So I'd probably do more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to jump ahead a little bit to 2020. You're forced to stop touring. It's just you can't do it. And so you started doing a solo thing just under your name. And you recorded a record, Moon Calendar, that came out March 10th, 2023. We bonded in May of 2023 because you had just done your first solo headlining Bluebird show, and I was about to do mine in like a week. So you were feeling good, and I was like, I want to feel like you feel a week and a half from now. So, so you're kind of giving me some tips and calming me down a little bit.
Yes,
because the Bluebird is a big room for an indie artist.
Big room, dude. Yeah,
but so you did this project where you played 16 instruments. You recorded all the stuff yourself. You did a full length album during COVID, excuse me, and put it out. What was that process like, and what made you feel like you needed to scratch that itch?
I will answer that question, but first, how did your show go? I don't think I ever got to ask you about it.
It was great. It went great, and then we did it again. This in January here a few months ago, and it went even better. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So it was. I learned a ton. It was very stressful, and then the second time around, 2025, I got rid of some things. I was like, I don't need scaffolding for a banner. I can say, you know what I mean? It was just like I thought I needed that, and I was like, that's kind of dumb. Not that it's dumb, but for me, it was dumb. So I just hung it on the wall and hung the banner on the wall instead.
Cool, lighter lift.
Yeah, I learned some things.
Cool, man. That's great. Yeah, it's a big room. So a lot of tickets there.
Yes, yeah. This second time we did it, I didn't want them to open the balcony.
Word.
And they said, we have to open the balcony because we've sold X amount of tickets. We have to open the balcony. And I said, you know what? I guess that's a good thing.
Hell yeah.
Open the balcony.
Do it. That's great. Cool. Okay. I'm glad to hear that. Can you repeat your question? Sorry, I interjected.
What was my question? I was just talking about the solo record. Because I want to get into your Bluebird show too, but chronologically here, during COVID, you performed all the instruments, did a full record at home, and what inspired you to scratch that itch? Was it purely necessity?
It was a long time dream of mine that I remember actually having the idea originally in my senior year of high school. Which I'm very happy that I did not do this then. But I love learning instruments and the quest of trying to make an album where it was just to kind of see if I could do it almost as like a self-challenge to see if I could write everything, play all the instruments, sing all the parts, sing all the harmonies, and record it all myself. It just felt like such a big, fun thing to try, and something that could I'm a slow writer, and I'm a frickin' procrastinator. And so having something that was pushing me towards something that kind of a bigger goal. It was something that I wanted to do for a really long time. And the pandemic was kind of the opportunity to, I had a lot more time on my hands than I thought that I would. And like, I don't know about you, but during the pandemic, I needed a project. I needed many projects, to just kind of like stay moving forward. Idle hands were probably not good for me at that time.
Sure.
So, and just like a total lack of excuses, those all fell away.
Right.
And I don't know, dude, there was like something about the pandemic that I didn't really get to experience in a long time with touring as much as we were, like 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. The ability to like start a project and finish a project was foreign to me. You know what I mean? Where it's like every 2 weeks you're just buttoning up your whole life and you're just like watering the plants and you're throwing away all the food that's in the fridge and like, the ability to have this like feeling that I could start things and see them through and like move on to the next project. It actually opened up the space to be like, oh, what if it's a big project,
Right.
And luckily it all came for me through right before the pandemic happened, like 2 weeks or 2 months before that. I was at a show with some friends, and a songwriter that I super look up to here in Denver, his name is Nat Tate, stopped me in the audience, and they were like, hey, I am starting a song circle with some songwriter friends. Like, would you want to come? And I was like, hell yeah. And so I went to it, and it was like really cool for me because it was a bunch of these indie weirdo artists, songwriters. And the first one, we would just like bring, the little baby songs we were working at. And it was like passing around an acoustic guitar around the coffee table and just hearing these little baby songs. But at the end of the first meeting, Nat led us in a songwriting prompt exercise where it was like, I think we cut out words from a magazine and rearranged them. And then, we were supposed to grab one of those lines or some of those lines and write a song around that for the next meeting. And we had like 2 of those where we were all writing to these prompts that we were doing. And then the pandemic happened. And we all got on a Zoom call, and it was just kind of like group therapy because they were all working, writers and performers. But then we were like, do you guys want to play the songs that we wrote? And we did. And then Nat gave a prompt at the end, and we kept doing it every month. Yeah. through the pandemic. And it was a freaking lifesaver, dude. It was like, it was so great to have this thing to work on. And the first night that we met, it was a full moon, and it was the Beaver Moon. And so we became the Beaver Moon Songwriting Collective, and we would do it every month, like roughly around the moon. And a bunch of the songs that came out of that practice were the songs that ended up on my record, which I called Moon Calendar. Wow. Yeah, because it was like, it's actually, I got a copy of it. This probably isn't good for the audio only people, but like, it was my buddy Scott McCormick did all the design for it.
And he's just like, I love Scott.
Super genius dude.
Yeah.
So it kind of it became this thing that like was a place to put this creativity that I was so lucky to like get to be a part of during the pandemic, and then like to try to see it through completion, to understand more of these, like get really intimately connected with like mastering for vinyl and like going through a design process and like really getting to see the whole thing soup to nuts was really fun.
Yeah, that's great. And then you did a release show at the Bluebird in March of 23, and how did that go? What were the results? Did it go the way you wanted?
Yeah. It was like, it was intensely scary. This whole thing was, like
Of course.
I'd put out 6 records with Trout Steak, as part of Trout Steak, and doing this was like way more revealing feeling and like way more vulnerable and way scarier, and just like I felt like I really got in touch with like some fear of judgment, fear of like being exposed, and it was it was difficult and challenging in new ways. Not the least of which was like playing the Bluebird. That as a solo artist, as with Trout Steak, we had played bigger venues and we played the Bluebird like 3 or 4 times at that point. But like really signing, like challenging somebody else's hold at the Bluebird,
Yeah.
where there's like 2 people that are already in line, and you're like, call these managers and tell them like we're coming for them, And, like,
Yeah. The whole process.
it's crazy. You got to sell this bill of goods that you're like, we will sell it out, and then you get the night, and it's like you got to go get the opening band. You got to get like lining all that stuff up. It was intense. It ended up being great, man. It was like Heavy Diamond Ring. It's a great indie rock band in Denver. They did second of 3 for me, and then first of 3 was my buddy Summers Baker, who put together like a really great quartet that is grown into its own band called Before the Sun now. And I got to assemble a band of like, my A1 players, of just really talented people. And it was great. It was a big celebration night. Everybody had a great time, sold it well. And it was like, to work that hard on something, I was in this little, brain trust with a couple other indie songwriters, Alicia Kraft and Megan Burt, around here in Denver. And we were all releasing solo albums at the same time. And we would meet every 2 weeks to just like encourage each other,
Mm-hmm.
And each of us kind of had to talk each other into like doing a big album release show, because we were like, we know how hard you guys have worked on this. It's like, you gotta go support it, you got to go celebrate it, and
Right.
kind of go through the fire, which was really fun and fulfilling.
Okay, that's the end of part 1 of my conversation with Travis McNamara. He's going to be back next week talking about Kickstarter. Some really great info, as I said earlier, for artists, creatives, musicians. I really recommend checking it out. So, sorry for the abrupt end. I just cut the conversation right there, and the second half of it is going to be next week's episode. My name's Andy Sitto. This is Middle Class Rockstar. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.